Thank you. Moving ahead, we have Suma Bhatt and Supriya, who will delve into the frameworks for debugging in secure cloud environments. Suma Bhatt, Software Engineer, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Supriya, Senior Cloud Developer, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise.
Hello everyone, I'm Suma and she's Supriya. We both today will be presenting an enterprise level framework for secure and efficient debugging in cloud and non-stop infrastructure. In today's agenda, we will be covering the challenges faced in debugging an issue if it occurs in a complex cloud environment. And in second half, we will cover our proposed solutions. As we all aware, cloud is very complex one and dynamic. There are users, there are applications, and developers using multiple platforms and services. All this complex infrastructure will cater to the needs of many industries. These industries will require non-stop services. Those industries like what we have here, healthcare, IoT, financial service, defense or government, and other things. And if any fault happens, any downtime happens, that is not tolerated in these kind of industries. So there we have to make sure that it is fault tolerant. In case, suppose some problem happens, what to do? Now, let's go to what are the challenges. Imagine you are a developer and having an application deployed in a cloud infrastructure, what we just saw. And in such an environment, you have deployed that application, there are several customers, but one particular customer said that she has experienced a crash in one particular client device. What are you going to do? Obviously, you have told it's a fault tolerant. Then, okay, but you have to fix it as soon as possible. So what you do? You will ask for the crash dump or core dump. This core dump will have the state of the application exactly at the time of the crash happened. So you will request for the customer to provide. And when actually since this is happening in only particular scenario, you need to know what exactly led to the crash itself. So you need additional data. So you will request the customer to provide those data. When you ask for, the customer has to worry because if any single sensitive information is passed to the developer or leaked, there will be a very serious repercussions, problems. So you have to make sure not a single sensitive data is leaked to outside the whatever is planned. So this is the, oops, sorry. Okay. So we have to make sure that the security is the foremost thing. And okay, you got now the data from the customer after making sure no sensitive data is shared. Then for each application, the debugging tools are different. And for separate platform, separate debugging tool, you need expertise. And of course, as we know, there are no automation can be possible. If there is an issue, there is an automated tool which will find the issue and fix it. No such things happen. It needs a manual intervention. And you got the crash dump and the loggings, but then you have to manually map them. See, what happens is when you manually map, you have to go through each timestamp, what has happened, and the code flow. All this require, again, time. This will not be fast. But what we need a faster solution. Then, as we already spoken, there are fragmented tools, which one single tool will not work for the other, many of the applications. And even after this, there is still the threat of the compliance risk. For different regions and different industries, there are different compliance requirement. So one regulations won't work in another industry or another geographical area. So we have to make sure when data is shared, these are properly handled. This compliance is properly handled. We are proposed a solution. Before going there, we will go through the what happens when the debugging process happens and until the resolution process. So when we have an issue, we have to understand the problem is real and it is not working as expected, and what is the problem we have to make sure we should know. Once we understand the problem, then we try to recreate the problem locally in our test environment. Many a times, that recreation of the problem doesn't happen. In such cases, we need more data from the customer. And suppose you imagine you got all those details, and after that, once we got all the data or recreation of the problems, we go through the error messages, code flow, check everything we go through. And with that, we find out, okay, this is the code base which has had the problem, and we identify the bug. Once we identify the bug, we come up with a fix. Once we fix the issue, we will verify that fix with if that is a testing is possible, we'll do that, and we'll make sure the fix is fixing the issue caused at the customer side. Then after that, we run a rigorous testing to make sure that our application works fine. After all this, we redeploy the application at the customer site or the cloud infrastructure. Now these are the problems and challenges. Now let's see what are the solutions what we are proposing. Over to Supriya for the solution part.
Debugging.
Okay.
Hi. Check. You can hear me? Yeah? Okay, great. So I just want to summarize the challenges that we are talking about. We are talking about the challenges faced in debugging a issue when it has encountered in a product that was delivered to the customer. So these are the, like you may have a factory engineer, you may have service engineer who go and debug those issues, who collect the logs and they do the first level of analysis. When that first level of analysis is not enough at a logging level, it comes to the developer. So usually, our products are developed in different programming languages, scripting languages, different technology. So each of the developers take those logs or try to go through the code which exists at their end and use different type of mechanism, like you have your different IDEs which you can use to see that where was the issue or what was the use case that wasn't tested and it got encountered in the customer scenario. Similarly, we have logging and other issue. The main point here is when it comes to enterprise, a single enterprise is catering to various industry. They could cater to healthcare industry, they could cater to manufacturing sector. They have different products for all of them, and there are a group of teams of developers which are sitting within the enterprise. So when an issue happens at a customer side, we have designed our product in such a way that we do all possible kind of logging. Those logs get accumulated and we are allowed to, customer usually shares those logs for us to analyze the issue. Now being a developer, when I see a log, I know there has an error occur. For example, a simplest example, there is a service which need to be accessed over the SSH protocol or a web service which need to be accessed, and I may see an error that not able to log in. Okay, but this issue cannot be just fixed by seeing the log. Log may show like the username was incorrect, password was incorrect, but when SSH service itself is not accessible, maybe as a developer we have not done that enough logging, which is a different case. We want to handle it, how we want to do enough logging, but that scenario is not enough. In that case, what we want is like, I want something as a developer beyond a log to be shared with me. What is that? Same product in a healthcare industry may have a different set of configuration complying to the HIPAA requirement. While a same product, when it goes to for example, in a manufacturing industry or another, for example, finance industry, they may follow a different compliance requirement. So it means that the kind of configuration we might have configured right from the product to operate from the hardware level to my middleware or to the application layer might be slightly different. So when we are a developer, I don't have all the possible scenarios to test my product, but I have the scenario for what is the end use case for which I want to design. So we are proposing this framework with the aim in mind. I want to get a data beyond a log. So what are those kind of data that we want to get it? So if I start as a developer, if we see from the top, you have the user and the debugging portal. So usually in enterprise kind of scenario, what happens? You have too many customers, too many teams, and too many products. So we are proposing that there should be a framework where different customers or different tenants are being managed for the different customers, and different teams based on a product which they work on, they are supposed to debug, they can log in into that. So this provides the user and the debugging portal, and here people will get all kind of incident reports, logs, or the data they need for the debugging purpose. The next important thing comes is the enterprise integration and the governance layer. So usually when an issue happens in the customer side, we cannot just debug until the customer has raised an incident for that. That incident should have come to us via means of ServiceNow or Jira or any other kind of ticketing system. My first level of engineer has analyzed, and then it comes to the developer. So we are providing with the enterprise level of integration with the tools which are required for you to report an incident so that it gets tracked. Next is, once the incident is reported and tracked, we come to the data collection and the ingestion layer. At this point, we determine what is my environment. We are talking about an enterprise. My same product can be used for the cloud application, and it could be in a containerized form factor, my application. It could be used in a hybrid cloud where you have something running on-premise, or you may have something running on the public cloud side, or you may have a non-cloud environment altogether. So at this data collection and the ingestion layer, we determine what is the kind of infrastructure and how do I reach that infrastructure. For example, some of the products which are running there, I may be allowed to log in only when I log in into the customer VPN, even to collect the logs. Or I may have to have my VPN connect to their VPN, and then we reach that layer of collecting the logs or the configuration setting. So this is about the data collection and the ingestion layer. And in between, we are showing like what kind of environments we are supporting. Next is the data aggregation and the pre-processing layer. So now at this layer is where the actual data gets collected. So log collection, because my product is dumping those logs, that log collection mechanism, almost all the product will have. Either it is in a text file, or you might have a different type of log with some extension, and you might have internal tool to analyze those. Next is the configuration setting. So what we are proposing in this framework, we have a set of script for each of the product team, whatever product they support. That script goes and runs in the customer environment to gather the configuration that was applied, to gather the system level setting, to gather the network ports that were open or the firewall ports that were open. So these are the different kind of logs we want to gather. Once we have that, now it's the advanced data correlation and the analysis layer. So at this layer, what we are saying, see, whenever we are dumping the logs, it is in a proper format, because as a developer and as a company, we have decided that strategy. But when it comes to configuration settings, there is no defined way how I want to dump that. So it is my product specific script which goes and runs and collects that data for me. So we are saying at this particular layer, each product team has their set of automation or whatever, they will run it, and they'll gather that data, and we does the pre-processing part here. So we have an engine built in here, which will process the data based on the type of information that you have gathered. For example, you have collected all your network logs from some location or some protocol which was running on your top of operating system, or within your application or within a container. So these network logs we gather, we analyze, and we segregate out the data which is not important for you to do the further processing of it. So this is about the data aggregation. Next is our most important part lies in this advanced data correlation and analysis. So we have logs, we have system level settings, we have networks logs, we might have security logs dumping separately. So these 4 or 5 things are not related to each other. So that's where this advanced data correlation comes in. So we have built in a small machine learning engine which tries to understand at a network layer, when you have the log and all the logs are clear, what kind of information you want to extract from it. Is it just the port information, or is it like your network logs can also tell you about the quality of service that was configured at the customer side. So once this data is done, we do the analysis, and we allow, like, since it is a UI portal, so we have the dashboard. You can project that information and make the customer visualize, like, issue reported in the log was a SSH issue. At the back end, there was a quality of service which was misconfigured when the product was set up at your end or when the product was managed at your end. Once this is done, we have this feedback and continuous improvement. So what we are saying, since this is an enterprise level framework and we have so many products running in, same kind of scenario for the same product, but a different customer may also occur. So we store that knowledge in our internal knowledge bases or the databases so that next time for a different tenant, when the issue is happening, we can project it to them that there is a possibility it was the quality of service which was misconfigured at your end. But this data is not shown to them. This is some knowledge that we gather and store it at our end. Overall, in this framework, if you see on the, I think the leftmost corner, we have this privacy and compliance, which we are maintaining at every layer. For example, if I start from the top, I am a developer of product A, and I am being asked to provide a level 3 or level 1 kind of support for a product B. So now when I log into that, I have my single sign-on, I have my role assigned. It means that same product for a different tenant or customer, I cannot see the logs. So this is the level of security we have done at the user level. Next comes is like for each layer, we want to maintain some kind of privacy for the customer. For example, in the data collection, when they are sharing their infrastructure information, they may share the certain set of IPs which we can access after logging to their VPN. They may also share with us username and password, but they are only for the specific developer or the factory engineer to debug the logs. So we do the anonymization of that data so that it's not visible or it's not misused by the other community which sits, or there should not be any doubt between the customer and the developer who is doing the debugging. So in this way, this entire framework works. So if you ask me what's different in this framework and and there might be other organizations who have their internal framework, which they are claiming like work like this, or open source framework we have not seen, which says that at an enterprise level, I can do debugging for everything. So first thing is the data isolation, which is the most important thing because this is an enterprise product. Next we are saying is like we have access control built in at every layer, starting from the portal that the user access, starting from the logs they have, logs compliance, where the customer may say that there are certain system level configuration which are done to keep the GDPR into their mind onto the system configuration, and they may not want to share. So we will avoid those kind of settings. Then we have scalability. So we are claiming that we can go for a cloud native kind of environment like Kubernetes containers. We can also go for cloud environment, which could be a mix of hybrid cloud and public cloud. Or we can go for the standalone environment, which are not cloud integrated and might be in customers' private data centers kind of. Another important thing is like the continuous improvement and the security monitoring. So continuous improvement helps fasten the process, which means that the knowledge that I have earned in, for example, my HTTPS protocol was showing that there is an error, and I understood it was a web error. After analyzing the different type of configuration and logs, we understood that error was because of the quality of service. So that knowledge we preserve at our end, at the enterprise level, so that next time when an issue comes, my other developer for other team and product need not go through entire process, and they can provide the first level of suggestion. Finally, there are 4 main benefits that we are claiming out of this enterprise product that we have. First is effective debugging. So in most of the cases, any product that we work on, only thing that a developer is allowed to access when it comes to them is the logs. And logs are kind of predefined, which can give only information at high level. Logs will never know what was the setting for a particular customer for a particular product was done. So effective debugging is our main thing to help the developers. Next is enhanced security. We are doing masking, encryption, and anonymization of the data, which is tenant specific at various layers, so that customer can be free of the doubt that their information, for example, username, password, or there might be other secret information they have in their configuration setting which gets exposed. Next is improved diagnostics. Definitely it reduces the, when every developer may not work in a same way. But if we know that my issue was solved in a certain way, the developer to developer risk of diagnosing a problem wrongly and just providing a temporary fix reduces extensively. So that's another benefit. Finally, it's the operational efficiency. Once we start using this product, we reach at a certain point an efficiency level where a service engineer is able to solve most of the issues rather than that issue coming down to the developer, which means that operations team are more effective by having this kind of product rather than coming and waiting for the developer's time to get the issue debugged. So I think this is our overall framework, and we are open to questions.
Are there any questions?
Yeah.
To call upon the session chair to join us on stage and present a token of appreciation to our speakers.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I need to. Yeah.
Okay, you come.
No, actually she was saying to come there.
Yeah.
You'll be there, so. Yeah, thank you so much.